Hello, this is Dr. Victoria Skirbo, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And I want to do the Astrology and Kabbalah of October 2018. We start with the vibration of the month. We get the vibration of the month by the number of the month, 10, October, and adding it to the universal year, which is an 11. And we get a 21 vibration, and then we reduce the 21 to a 3. So we have a 21-3 vibration. The base number 3 is about manifestation. It is about joy. It is about creation. The 21-3 is especially potent. It is the last card in the tarot. And it is the card of completion, and this is the card associated with the 21-3 vibration. That's the World card. And here we see this woman in the center, or what seems to be a woman, in the center of this wreath of laurel leaves. Laurel leaves are seen as a symbol for victory. And she has the 4 fixed signs in each corner. She has Taurus here as the bull, Leo as the lion, Aquarius as the man, and then Scorpio in its higher vibrational image of the eagle. These are also the Tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, and this is also the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke. And so it is a symbol, 4 is a symbol of sort of life on earth, and the 4 fixed signs deal with the soul. And so the thing about the woman in the center, or what seems to be a woman, is you can tell that the top half of her, she has breasts, but the bottom half, you can't really tell. But this is actually hermaphrodite. She has both sexual, secondary sexual characteristics. And that's a symbol of the male and the female imbalance, and or the male and the female within one body. And that symbolizes us, really. We have, even though our external genitalia may be a male or female, we also have an inner male or female. And so we have, it behooves us to balance those things, right? Because that brings a sense of victory and a sense of balance. But this is a card of manifestation. So October ends up being a month where we are manifesting. Now, what exactly are we manifesting? Well, it's been quite a year, and we've worked really, I think most of us have worked really hard. Part of working really hard this year has been just trying to keep our balance through the dramatic changes that are all around us. How do we keep our center, especially through the summer eclipse season, which was very, very intense. And even for people who were generally pretty even-keeled and not likely to fly off the handle, it was very difficult. And I'm speaking for myself, and there are many people out there who could say the same thing. It was a real challenge to keep explosive emotions from taking over, really. But, so we've worked hard for what we're going to manifest. And if we look at the Tree of Life, which is right behind me, this is the Kabbalah right here. And this yellow, where I've highlighted in yellow, this is the path of the 21-3. This path is associated with the planet Saturn. Saturn is the way in. Well, Saturn is the way in, Saturn is the way out, but Saturn is the energy of the structure of our reality in 3 dimensions. Reality that we can touch and feel and sense with our 5 senses. That is ruled by Saturn. And so this is where we incarnate. It is through this path on the Tree of Life that we incarnate. If we were going to call this a body part, this would be the birth canal. And so there's a sense through through October, where we may feel like we are giving birth to something. And for anyone who's given birth or observed somebody giving birth, we know that it can be a pretty painful and sweaty experience, okay? You can have these spasms where you have contraction and then a relaxation and a deep contraction and a relaxation. So if you feel like you're giving birth to something this month, it is not your imagination. It is really happening. And there's a lot of things coming into culmination in October. It's as if next month, the nodes of the moon shift into North Node into Cancer and the South Node into Capricorn. Right now, the North Node is in Leo, the South Node is in Aquarius, and it has been in that place for about 17 months, say, right? So now this is the last sort of month and the last push. And the North Node in Leo talks about our ability to self-express and create. It's all about creating. It's all about your special talents and abilities and sharing them with the world. And in the meantime, we're being required to let go of traumas from the past, traumas that we have dissociated from and that we haven't really felt. And what's been happening through September, I know I'm talking about October, but I want to talk a little bit about before and a little bit about after. In September, a lot, and through the summer, really, these feelings and these either past life or present life traumas have come up to be healed and to be seen. And it's all out there, and you can't avoid it, and you can't help but feel what people are feeling. And so as October comes, we are giving birth to something new. Through this whole process, we will find October is an energy of culmination. And then when November rolls around, there are a number of planetary shifts that connote the rebirth or the new thing about this card. So we have an ending and a beginning. So we'll feel more of the ending in October, and we'll see more of the beginning in November. And that will start a whole new nodal cycle. It'll start a whole new sign for Jupiter to be in. Jupiter's been in Scorpio since last October. And Jupiter in Scorpio is, of course, the expansion of the shadow, the expansion of sexual power struggles and perpetration of violence in sexuality, and the Me Too and the Time's Up and all of that came up to the surface and out into the zeitgeist that we had to look at it. It was right there, and finally, people are seeing things for what it is, and so now we're sort of coming to. Not that that's going to end, okay, but it is, in a way, its own way of giving birth, that whole Jupiter in Scorpio, and then Jupiter's going to go into Sag next month. So this really is a time when we are tying things up, and an umbilical cord or two, perhaps, right, as the baby is born. So it's an exciting time. So what I want to do now is I think I would like to just go over a couple of major astrological things that are going to be happening in October that are important. I'll especially pay attention to what's going on with Saturn, because the vibration of this card, is Saturn. It's a Saturn card. And so we'll see what's going on with Saturn. And we'll also look at the Sun and the Moon, because we have the Moon being activated through this path as it connects Yesod to Malkuth. And then we also have an important Venus transit going on in October. So I'll be back with all of that. Hi. Okay, let's talk about Saturn first. First of all, Saturn is in the sign of Capricorn. Saturn moved into Capricorn in December of last year. I believe it was on the 19th. And then it proceeded to make conjunctions to all the personal planets, to the Sun, to Mercury, to Venus, starting cycles, starting year-long cycles. And what we have this month is 2 of those cycles come to a point where we can make some change in the way that we live our lives, and how we relate to each other within society. And those 2 are on October 12th. I don't know, can you see this? I don't know. Well, you might not be able to see it, but I will just tell you. October 12th, Mercury is making a 300-degree sextile to Saturn. And Mercury is in Scorpio. And then on October 27th, the Sun makes a 300-degree sextile to Saturn. Both of these planets conjoined Saturn back in, I believe it was December for the Sun, and it might have been January for Mercury, 2018, I'm not sure. But it has gone, each planet goes, in their relationship to each other, will go through a 360-degree cycle. And these 2 planets have reached 300 degrees. And this is a sextile of understanding. It's about what we know. It's about what we know from our own experience. The Sun is our identity. Who am I? And Mercury is what do I think? So this is a part of the process of individuation. It's when you question. You have gone through almost the whole cycle, and you question through all your experiences and your interactions with other people, and then your interactions with authority when these planets square each other in that 270-degree square. Now it's time where you can make a change, and this change is a progressive change, a change where you're more concerned with the common good. And so this is really a great 2 really nice aspects to Saturn. Saturn is a difficult energy, but sextiles bring a certain amount of stability and a certain amount of curiosity and an opportunity to change. So this is the time to sort of change your mind, or change your how you define yourself, and move in a more progressive, life-affirming direction. And so that's what's going on with Saturn. We have a new moon and a full moon this month. The new moon is in Libra. It's at 16 degrees of Libra. And it is square Pluto. And there is a growing sense of Pluto in Capricorn is power, but it's also abusive power. And there's this growing sense of unfairness and a need to sort of become the captain of your own ship, make your own decisions, and decide to take an action and make the changes that you need to make, so that you're listening more to yourself and your own base knowledge than what you're supposed to do. Okay, it's a process of undoing the conditionings, the societal conditionings that we're born into. Now, that being said, Uranus, the planet of change, is actually square the nodes of the moon. And that also brings that sense of having to break free from the conditionings of the past. And a lot of those conditionings are traumatically based. And so as we watch things, say, on the news, or watch, what's going on in the case for America, what's going on in Washington, and seeing what's coming up, we are being reminded of our own wounds, and this is the perfect time for healing. It is not the time to necessarily focus on, not necessarily, you have to see it and feel it and know it and express it, but once you do that, then it's time to heal it. You don't want to hold on to it, because it's not about holding on to it. It's not about making it your badge of courage. It's about moving through this, because we are evolving. And we also have a full moon in Taurus this month. The full moon in Taurus, I'm going to just flip this, see if I can find it, just so I have something to look at, because I don't remember everything. Okay, so we have a full moon in Taurus. The moon in Taurus, it's at the full moon is at 2 degrees of Taurus, the sun at 2 degrees of Scorpio, and we have Uranus conjunct the moon at this time. So Uranus conjunct the moon is sort of breaking free from emotions that sort of hold us back or keep us imprisoned. At the same time, this full moon is actually creating a grand fixed square with the nodes of the moon. And so we have a giant fixed cross in the sky. And fixed crosses are always deep emotional wounds, right? That we need to let go of. Now, sometimes if that square is in the heavens and there's nothing connecting to it, it sort of it'll self-sustain itself. It's almost like you're caught in a prison. But there actually is Saturn, the planet of October, is actually connected via trines and sextiles to that square. And what Saturn does is Saturn requires us to grow up. It requires us to mature enough to sort of look at that those wounds and that deep soul stuff, and take responsibility for yourself and move through it and make that be more of a way to strengthen yourself instead of getting caught in the prison of pain that those things can create. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about is Venus, and I'll be right back to do that. Okay, let's talk about Venus. Venus is the planet of love. Venus is the feminine energy. Mars, of course, is the masculine. Through the summer, Mars was retrograde in Aquarius and then in Capricorn. And so we had opportunities to review how we move forward in life, reviewed wounding that we had through the wounded masculine. Now we have Venus retrograde. And Venus starts its retrograde period on the 5th of October and will be retrograde until the 15th of November. Venus is retrograde for 40 days and 40 nights. That's Jesus was in the Jesus was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. The Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years. 40 is a number of Venus. And it goes retrograde at 11 degrees of Scorpio, and the Sabian symbol for that is a drowning man is being rescued, and the keynote is the deep concern of the social group for the safety of its individuals. And that's sort of like a sense of, helping people who are drowning, helping people who are moving through this very, very difficult emotional time. Whenever you have a retrograde, you are reviewing, reconfiguring, what do I have here? Review, and reevaluation. I knew there was a word. And it's a reevaluation of relationships because Venus is the planet associated with relationships. Venus actually rules 2 of the signs of the zodiac. It rules Taurus and it rules Libra. And Taurus is our relationship to ourself, and Libra is our relationship to others. And in order to have healthy relationships with others, you must have a healthy relationship with self. And so this Venus retrograde does talk about both of those things. It does require us to see how, first of all, what's essential in our lives and what's important to us. How we treat ourselves, our self-worth, our self-esteem, the things that we need to do to sort of take back our power. And then Libra, it's about reevaluating relationships with other people. Are we being codependent? Is there a give and take? Now, of course, it's never going to be 50-50 all the time. There are times when one person takes more of the burden, but there has to be a time when the other person takes more of the burden. It's sort of like a lambda or an infinity symbol. We have to sort of try to stay within the middle, or certainly be poised in the middle while we experience sometimes the outer edges. But as long as we come back to the center again, then we're having a healthy relationship. And the closer to the center you can stay, the better off you are. Now, Venus, while in October, is retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, and then in November it actually retrogrades back into Libra. So there are two signs of the zodiac associated with relationship, and that's Libra and Scorpio. And so not only is Venus the planet of relationships, but it is in the two signs retrograde that are associated with relationships. And so in Scorpio, we're dealing with deep emotional relationships. We're dealing with issues of betrayal. And so we will continue to have like the past coming up to be released, right? And then with the North Node in Leo during this whole time and getting towards the end of that, it's really about, coming into our hearts and releasing the traumas. So it's feeling them and releasing them, feeling them and healing them. That is the process that we go through. Now, Venus is also the planet associated with money, and Scorpio is debt. So you need to review that as well. That's something else you may want to, you would be best to evaluate. Evaluate your debt. Evaluate what your resources are and what your debts are. Figure out a way to reduce your debt, right? These are the type of things that would be very good for Venus retrograde in Scorpio. And of course, we will be dealing with sexual issues because we're dealing with Scorpio. And we'll be dealing with our desires because we're in Scorpio. So these are all the things that will be coming up for review, to be looked at, to be reevaluated, and what needs to be changed, and what doesn't you can keep. It's not like we're knocking down the whole house. We're cleaning out the closets. We're cleaning out the Venus closets. And that's also a great thing you can do. Maybe go through, maybe even go through old love letters, or just remembering and staying open-hearted. It's because it's not just about trauma. Please, it's also about, those special relationships that have changed our lives. And it doesn't even need to be romantic. It could just be those people that we love, and sort of reconnecting with either with them or with the energy of them. You don't have to be calling up all your old friends and lovers, certainly, but you can do it on an energetic level for sure. And that's another great way to spend your Venus retrograde. Okay. So I think that's all I want to say about October. It's going to be challenging, but in a different way. We're going to feel like we've made some progress. And the last 18 months, or 17 now, going on 18 months of the North Node in Leo and the South Node in Aquarius has been a real process. Personally, those are my nodes. I have my North Node in Leo and my South Node in Aquarius. So those people born in 61 like myself, or 1980, or let's see, it's every 19 years, so 1999, and minus 19 years from 1961. I'm sorry, I can't do math in my head, numerologist that I am. And so all of these years have had nodal returns. So this is especially been poignant for those people born in those years. So enjoy giving birth. I don't have children, but I've seen it, and it can be tough. But at the end, you have that beautiful creation, and there's nothing like holding in your arms what you've worked so hard for, whether it be an actual child or an actual project, or just the healing that you've had to do on yourself. It's been a pleasure going through these months with you, and have a great October. And I will be doing my daily astrology, of course. And now I'm doing some card readings that people seem to like. So I will continue with that as well. Have a great October, and peace. Ciao.